The UFC heads down under for a pay-per-view card this weekend as UFC 305 showcases a middleweight title fight grudge match between Israel Adesanya, looking to recapture his middleweight title against current champion Dricus du Plessis, who is looking to defend his title for the first time since winning it back in January over Sean Strickland. A bunch of other great fights, co-main event, high-stakes flyweight matchup between two guys from down under, as we have veteran Kai Kara-France looking to take the momentum away from Steve Erceg, who just came up short in a flyweight title fight back in May. And again, like I said, a bunch of other great fights throughout the card. Reminder, this is a quick picks version of the UFC 305 breakdown. I dropped the full card on Tuesday for you guys, where I went a little bit more in depth and close to 45 minutes to an hour on that card. In this podcast, our segment, I will strictly be getting right to the point of why I think each fighter wins each matchup. And again, there might be some questions as to why I think so heavily about a fighter. If you want more reasoning, go check out the other podcast. I'll have the link for that in the description below, or just check out the YouTube channel. All right. PFL breakdown dropped earlier today, so if you guys want that, check that out. I'll have all my other great UFC 305 breakdowns dropping, or segments dropping over the next day or two, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And then ACA goes down Friday morning. If you want breakdowns for that, I'll have them strictly in written form on the Lock of the Night Patreon page. Check the link in the description below. All right, let's get right to work here. Like I said, quick picks version here, so I hope you're laced up and ready to go, because we're off and running with the first fight of the night between Stuart Nicoll and Jesus Aguilar. Nicoll makes his UFC debut this weekend as an 8-0 prospect from the Australian regional scene, and I think he has very high potential here, and I think that this is a great matchup for him to go out there and showcase why he's so dominant. His BJJ black belt helps fuel a grapple-heavy approach in his fights, and I think we'll see him utilize that here against Aguilar. All he has to do is stay away from the big power and nasty guillotine of Aguilar, and that will eventually open up a submission opportunity for the UFC newcomer, and I think we'll see Nicoll win this fight by submission. Next up, Kenan Song going up against Ricky Glenn. This one's a tough one to call. Obviously, Glenn, his durability is not what you want to be backing, but if he can survive the early onslaught against Song, things could really start to go his way. Unfortunately for him, I think Song will land a big shot here early, and I think he puts his lights clean out. Just not a whole lot of confidence there. Next up, Tom Nolan going up against Alex Reyes. Again, Reyes, similar to Glenn, not the greatest durability. His layoff has not been the greatest either, and I think we'll see Tom Nolan command his respect from the jump and eventually finish him in the first round. Next up, Jack Jenkins going up against Herbert Burns. Jenkins looking to return after that gruesome arm injury he suffered last year at the hands of Chepe Mariscal, and I think he has the perfect opponent to come back and have a dominant showing against. I think we'll see Jenkins really put Burns through the ringer and eventually get him out of there late first round or early second. Next up, Casey O'Neill going up against Luana Santos. O'Neill looking to buck this 0-2 trend that she's on. Unfortunately for her, I think she's going up against a technically superior fighter in Luana Santos. I think Santos will utilize her judo and her BJJ background to keep O'Neill on her back and eventually find a submission within the first 2 rounds. Next up, Josh Culibao going up against Ricardo Ramos. Ramos is the technically better fighter here, but mentally speaking, he has really not been there as of late. Culibao will clearly dictate the pace in this matchup, and I think that will cause Ramos a lot of issues, cause him to be uncomfortable, and Culibao should have no issues controlling this fight and eventually winning it on the scorecards. Next up, Junior Tafa going up against Walter Walker. Both guys somewhat abysmal through their UFC careers thus far, but I think this is a perfect matchup for Walker to pick up his first UFC win. This is a grappler versus striker matchup, and I think that we'll see Walker have no issues getting this fight to the ground, putting the grind on Tafa, and getting him out of there within a round and a half. Next up, Li Jingliang makes his return after an extended layoff. He goes up against Carlos Prates. Jingliang is one of the top welterweights back in the day, but it seems that layoff, the spine injury that he's coming off, is going to be too much for him to battle against an up-and-comer like Carlos Prates, and I think we'll see Prates dictate the pace with his striking. Li Jingliang is going to be very difficult to put away, so I think we'll see Prates take this fight to the scorecards and winning strictly on damage. Next up, Tuivasa going up against Rozenstruik. Tuivasa is really not committed to the MMA game, it seems, nowadays, as he has moved to Abu Dhabi and seems to be very focused on the out-of-ring business ventures that he has, and that's going to cause him issues here against Rozenstruik, who is clearly fully focused on the MMA game and is the technically superior striker here. Tuivasa leaves too many openings, and Rozenstruik will make him pay for it, and it will result in a Rozenstruik knockout. Next up, Matthias Gamrot going up against Dan Hooker. Hooker has revitalized his career after going 1-4 between 2020 and 2022, but I think that the grapple-heavy style of Gamrot is going to keep Hooker on the defensive for the most part. Obviously, the odds here are a little bit too wide for my liking, so I could see the value on Hooker, but I think Gamrot's grappling is just going to be too much, and we'll see Gamrot keep or at least dictate the pace here, keep Hooker on the defensive, grinding this fight out, and giving us another classic Matthias Gamrot decision. Co-main event here, Kai Kara-France looking to get back into the title picture as he takes on fellow countryman Steve Erceg. Unfortunately for Kara-France, I think Erceg is the cleaner and better fighter here. I think Erceg is the slicker striker down the pipe, whereas Kara-France carries more power, but a little bit more winging with his shots, and Erceg's BJJ black belt will allow him to mix this fight up good enough to keep Kara-France on the defensive and keep Kara-France thinking about what's coming back his way. Look for Erceg to land much better damage, get some solid control, maybe find a submission, but ultimately my prediction for this matchup is going to be Erceg by decision. And that brings us to our main event between Dricus du Plessis looking to defend his title against Israel Adesanya in a match that is filled with bad blood. Du Plessis obviously has been faded by many people on his run to the top of the division, and everybody has failed. However, I think Adesanya is the perfect fighter to cause du Plessis trouble. Du Plessis will be looking to push the pace here and try to stay in Adesanya's face, but I think Adesanya's disciplined striking approach would be the difference maker here. I think du Plessis did not have too much to worry about in terms of the power coming back from Strickland, whereas Adesanya's precision, timing, and stinging power will cause du Plessis issue here, which ultimately will allow Adesanya to find a knockout in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round of this matchup. And new, once again, Israel Adesanya middleweight champion. There you guys go. Quick picks for UFC 305. Very excited for this PFL card. That's also going down on Friday, but also this UFC card. I don't know why PFL came into my mind here again. I dropped that breakdown earlier today. Yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow for the Lucky 2-Step Lucky Trinity free parlay and the 3 best prop bets. See you then. Peace.